All right, here we go. Soul Conversations with Sandra, the podcast. We are going to talk with Rashida Walls, RighteousSun00. And as soon as she comes on, we're going to get the party started. Hey, let's start this Friday off with a soulful conversation. I like that, right? So as you come in, thank you so much. Please, as you come in, try not to hit the request button. We want to give our guest time to introduce herself and have a conversation. Do always feel free to use the question box. I do believe it is working. So if you have any questions for Rashida, put them in the question box. And if the question box isn't working for you, put them in the comments. If we don't get to the comments, remind us that you have a question in the comments and we will move back to find it so that we can address it. This is the whole reason why we have Soul Conversations with Sandra, so that it is a complete conversation that includes you. All right, hold on just a second. It looks like she's coming in. And she's got a request, and then we're going to get started, okay? And as you come in, feel free to say hello, how are you? If we don't respond to your comments, know that we are seeing it. The rule of thumb that if my guest is speaking, I will not interrupt her to reply to you. Just know that when I nod or I wave or I smile really big, I've seen you, all right? But I'm going to sing, I'm so excited. I just can't hide it. I'm about to lose control and I think I like it. Hi.
Hi.
Welcome.
How are you doing
I'm
today?
doing good. I'm excited because you're here.
I can't wait. Honestly, I really can't wait for this conversation. It is a Friday. And you know what? It's also nice too, because as you know, I have a podcast, so I'm usually in that position. So I'm feeling a little bit more like I can just chit chat and like relax a little bit. So yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, because yours is kind of, it's audio. So you have so much more to do with it because it's like after the conversation is finished, then your work really begins,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so how this goes is we're in my backyard, we're having iced tea. The conversation is free flow. That's what I love. I'm all about just diving in, free flow. Yes, I do get deep sometimes. Like I said before, if there's anything personal that I hit, or if you even get triggered by a conversation, let me know. All right. We will go to the next question. That's how it works.
Yeah.
That's what friends do. Yeah. Friends say, "Oh, I'm not going there," and if you're a true friend, you're going to go, "Okay, I'll give you space." Yeah. Right?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I'm very much the same way. Yeah, I like free flowing conversations. So yeah, I'm all about it.
And I'm a Gemini, so I like to talk. So if you want to interject in there, please raise your finger, raise your hand and say, "Oh, I got something to say about that."
Yeah.
Because sometimes it won't be a ramble. It'll be just getting that thought out.
Yeah.
From because I'm learning to use my throat chakra a lot more, which was one of my healing, but I don't know if you would call it a modality, but it had to come out. You know, and most recently, that and learning to keep my heart chakra open. So, okay, so how we do this is, it is called Soul Conversations. I'm all about helping people understand what their awakening is about, how they move through their awakening, how they're using it in their life, day to day, now to now, and what their not expectations are of themselves and of what they're doing, but their intentions are, of what they're doing. So all of that, giving you all of that question, I'm going to give you the floor to introduce yourself. All right?
Yeah.
Okay, because I can't do you justice.
Yeah,
you know what's it. You know what's in there,
Yeah.
right? All
All right.
righty. So let's
Um,
get it going.
all right. My name is Rashida. I also go by Righteous Sun. I always like to share this little story is that I'll never forget reading a book by Wayne Dyer who said, "Your name, it has a meaning." And growing up, I had no idea what Rashida meant. I'll be honest, didn't like the name originally because, everybody else had like common names, and then here was Rashida. It was only till I got older, and then we got like you had Google search and stuff where I found out that Rashida means righteous. And then my middle name is Naima, which I had no idea either what that meant. So I searched that up and realized that Naima, there's like a Tibetan center in Tibet that the name is Naima. And for them, it means sun. So I was like, oh, all right, I'm going to put those two together. And there you have Righteous Sun.
Ooh.
So that's a little piece about me. I am a mom. I am also a Reiki practitioner and a Reiki master. Through Reiki, I was able to hone in more on my gifts and realize that I can connect very deeply with spirit, and really tapped into that aspect of my gifts. And really now I can really enjoy doing psychic work. Like, I'm like you, I love to talk. So like it helps every single time to like have conversations like this, because there's never a point when I'm not channeling. And so that's sort of where I'm gearing a lot of my gifts, even though I want to expand on that. And then I tapped into them becoming a creator of my podcast, which is the Ultimate Human Experience Podcast. I started that 2 years ago to also just help me to find my voice, to feel more comfortable with sharing my thoughts that I've always shared with myself, and not just with myself, but with my spirit team, with my ancestors, just those conversations. Like, we all talk to ourselves, even though it's not really to ourselves. And I just felt like now is like the best time more than ever to be able to get that out verbally, even though I love to journal, but also like just a way for me to just get it out, and be able to share that verbally was something that I really enjoy doing. It has expanded from it just being myself to inviting on some amazing people such as yourself. You were also on one of the episodes.
And I was so nervous.
It's crazy that you say that you're nervous. I'm nervous every single time I have somebody come on, because when I pick the people that come on, it's because I'm intrigued by them and I'm inspired by them, and I want to get to know their journey, because I feel like everybody has their own experiences and their own perspectives. And it's like, what was your viewpoint on your life's journey, and how can I maybe take a few of those tips or tools and apply that to my own life for myself? So I get nervous too, but it worked out perfectly. Like, everything always aligns. Like, honestly, that's when you know like spirit is involved, because you remember the story. Like, I was like, oh, I'm trying to figure out something to wear. Let me put on this t-shirt, and the t-shirt ended up being Betty Boop. And you were like, I've got all these things of Betty Boop. And I was like, okay, yeah. Right? Kind of like.
And like, that's where I started to calm. I started to go, oh, okay. Because the thing is, when people ask me about me, there is so much of me that's entangled in there, because it's gotten to the point where I don't have dates anymore. Everything has flowed into a moment, and trying to pull it out and have it aligned through dates. It's like it kind of all gets jumbled, and then I feel like I'm pulling from different places, and I feel like, oh, I'm not being authentic, or not authentic. What is that word where where I'm being where people can actually see who I am? I'm being what is that word? Now that the divine won't give me the word.
I still think it's authentic, right? It's like,
yeah.
you want people to know the real you and your personal views and your experiences in this world.
Right.
So to me, I'm even learning what authentic means, because I know it's like a word that gets thrown around so much. that
Yeah.
after a while, I feel like the more we throw around words, the more it loses its meaning. I want to reconnect to some of these words that intrigued me, but also made me think a little bit more about who I am. So
Right.
like, I think authentic makes sense because it's your true heart, it's your true soul of how you're moving through the world. How do you want to connect with people?
Right.
And I'm learning that for myself is that like, I don't know everything, but I'm still, I'm still,
Yeah.
right?
It.
I don't know it all, but what I do know is that like what feels good to me, if it feels good to me, then it's authentic.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I'm now. That's what I am now consistently still learning.
Yeah.
Does that make
Same.
sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
That because yes, I've been called to serve and help, and yes, there are people that know that the divine moves through me, through my light language, through everything, but I don't have everything figured out, and I want to be authentically honest that yes, I'm here to help you, but I don't have all the answers. But here, look, I can go back to the file of me, but it's not going to be consistently um, uh, uh, dated. Like from birth to 12, this is what I did. From 12 to this is what I did. It's all kind of just intermingled now. I know
Yeah.
I did this. I know I felt this. I know this was that, but how it opened up to me, I'm even starting to intermingle. Have you ever felt this way where you're intermingling life that the your soul has experienced, but it's not your experience,
Mm. Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And you right, it's kind of like it's not your experience, but then at some point time later you experience a version of it and you have like a deja vu,
Yeah.
right?
A lot. A lot of those are coming up. I think even more now than ever. And I don't know if that's just like as the world's changing, as like consciousness is raising, is that like, I think that's like inevitable for it to happen, whether you are on your spiritual journey or not, whether you realize you're having these experiences or not, is that like, especially recently, I'm noticing that more is that like those things that I always say, the things that you imagine or those feelings that come up are real.
Mm-hmm.
And even if it doesn't make sense at the time, at least allow them to come up because at some point it might show up again in your life later down the road. And you can
Right.
start connecting the dots. Like I've had opportunities where I think everything is a pattern. I think you can connect the dots like throughout your entire life if you have the opportunity to sort of trace it back and then create little pieces and be like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Oh, okay, this is why it helped to me. For me, it helps with my relationships, like the connections that like I've had and the ones that I've created over time. Like, oh, okay, these are little pieces of why those people needed to be in my life and the
Right.
lessons that I've learned from them. And my biggest thing is like not trying to get too attached to all of it and just allowing for it to come in and then just being able to experience it.
Yeah.
So I'm probably more now, like if I look back to where I was and where I am now, I'm more in the space of like, okay, yeah, I'm okay to experience these things. I'm not placing an outcome on it, but I'm just trying to be as present as possible. Like, what can I learn from this? I'm
Right.
also learning too that like, oh, spirit plays a huge role. Like, oh, such a big role in your everyday life that you don't. I'm learning now, like, I don't even realize, maybe because it's something that comes so naturally that it's just like a part of my everyday, but I'm starting to pay attention. So I'm more in my, like, I'm learning to observe more in these moments of experiences
Right.
rather than like placing so much thought and trying to like fully dissect it. Like sometimes I think me personally, I feel like if I dissect too much, I'm losing what the experience is supposed to be. And sometimes it's like, Rashida, just experience it. Like it doesn't have to be so complicated.
I yeah, and I wrote down. As you see, I was looking down. I was I had wrote down a question that I wanted to make sure that I asked you, and then the paper, it's kind of like disappeared, right? Okay, I got it. It just came back to me. Okay, so what is something that you used to believe, okay, whether you could call it old dogma or whatever, that you have transitioned from, and it has been the best thing that you have ever done? The even down to the, you could feel it, taste it, you could actually embody it as the best thing that you have ever done to now date.
So honestly, love is like the first thing that pops up. Through love, you can achieve so much. I think, and I've learned that over time, just through like my own upbringing and like through childhood, is that I was taught, and society teaches us, that it's outside of you. Right. You have to achieve and attain all of these X amount of things to be able to be happy and to feel joy and to have love. And for me, I'm going to get a little personal here, is that like I grew up in a very like abusive household. So I learned at a very young age, like, well, what does that have to, I ain't got nothing to do with it. Yeah, I lived in a house.
Kind of like the Tina Turner thing. What's love got to do with it, right?
Like, yeah. I lived in a house. I had two parents who worked, like, but you would walk out the door and it was like everything was normal, but in the house was so far from that I was like, I would rather have none of it if all I could have is love. I don't care about all the extra stuff. It meant nothing to me. So like growing up and then like going to school, like honestly, I only loved school because it could get me away from my house and I could just rest. But I wasn't focused on the education piece. I was like, this is just a chance for my now I can say this is a chance for my nervous system to rest for a little bit before I had to go back into the chaos. And I remember saying to myself, you know what, Rashida, when you get older, you are gonna live the complete opposite, and you are going to just go off of love, because at the end of the day, that is what you need. And I grew up thinking that this was how it was supposed to be, right? Like it was still there where I was like, okay, it's love, it's love, it's love. That love has deepened over time to where I am now. And as I've continued to deepen my love, like everything around me externally has matched that. It's matching it on a regular basis. It's all of the things that I was like, should I be doing this? Like everybody else, whether my friends or family, were doing all of what society said was the thing you're supposed to do, and I was doing all of the opposite things of what you were supposed to do. And I would feel guilty about it. I would think, am I doing the right thing? No, maybe I should just follow what everybody else was doing. And every time I did that, it didn't go well. Yeah. It always ended up with me like failing. Like I had a conversation with a friend where I was like, I went to school, then I dropped out, like not once but twice. It just wasn't fitting with me because it wasn't what I wanted to do. It was what other people wanted me to do, and I wanted to make them happy and wanted to make them feel proud of me. And through that, I thought, if I can make them feel happy and proud of me, then I'll feel happy and proud. And I was like, no, Rashida, just continue to stick to what feels good to you, even though it was like the total like opposite of what everyone around me was like, you should be doing this, like what are you doing, like. And I was like, I don't know, but I know that this feels better than that. Like I knew that like friends and family who went to school and was working like their 9 to 5s, even though it was paying the bills, like they weren't happy at the end of the day. They were coming home stressed, like all these things. And I was like, well, then what does it even mean then if like, okay, it's just temporary? I didn't want that. I wanted something that was like long term. And I kind of feel like things that are going to take a long time, and love takes a long time to really deepen and understand. Yeah. once it's going to take a long time. It's how much do you want to deepen that love for yourself?
What was
How
the
far do you
what was the process? Okay, in the process, and I know the process can be bigger. Okay, so I'm going to try to condense it with a question. Okay, not having love growing up, going into your household, having your whole system just bombarded with um, all those things that were not love, but were told, but either you were told it was love by your parents, or you just assumed it was love, but it didn't make you feel good, right? So you get into your teens and your young adulthood, and you're embarking on this love process. Okay, I'm going to find out what real love is. I'm going to find out what real love means to me. In it, did you find that you looked towards to find other people who could love you first, right? And if they showed you what they thought was love, oh, this is love, but they're actually saying I love you, right? How was that the first process that you went through, or was it a byproduct of something that you were going through? I told you I was going to get deep. Am I
That's
too
such a
deep?
good question.
Okay.
No, I like deep questions. Yeah, that's such a good question. I think it was like a little bit of both. Now that I can sit back, I know that like we mirror, right? We're a mirror image, so we invite those things into our lives. But I could definitely say like I was naive getting as I got older, right? Like now I knew I was beautiful inside and out, but like other people would say different.
Right.
So that kind of stood out a lot, but I also have told this story to many people that like I knew once I hit a certain age and the braces came off and all that nonsense that like all those people who was like, we're going to come back around and be like, oh, well, hey, Rashida. But I was emotionally intelligent enough to know that like mental note, you didn't like me inside and out. None of that stuff matters anyway.
Right.
Like you could be good looking and like still be an idiot. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I took a lot of those things, like especially in high school. I definitely could say that it was a byproduct. I was searching for the external love. I wanted to hear the words. I wanted the attention. I wanted all of those things. And I could say that like I had even no idea what it was. I was just looking for connection. I was just looking for love. So I could say that I didn't know what love was, but I knew that I wanted affection. I knew that I wanted attention. I just knew that I wanted those feelings. And so I can definitely say that I did certain things or acted in certain ways that invited those people into my life. And then I had to sit there with it and be like, okay, well, like, this is what it is. And it wasn't until like maybe like 1920 where I really got to understand a little bit more about what love is and learned more about myself and how I should be treated and what love looks like to me. And I realized like, oh, okay, you were right in the things that you said. You were right in the choices that you made. At that time too, I was still people pleasing a lot of people too. Because
that was going to be my next question.
Yeah, because I still wanted people to love me. I still wanted, but I can look back and be like, wow, she like you compromised yourself on so many things, but yet it's taught me so much. Because honestly, like I learned a lot about love through relationships with men. Like I didn't have a great one with my dad at all. So I was going, what I learned over time is that I was going off of what I thought a man should be, because I didn't have a great example. So it's not like I had a good one or a bad one. I didn't know. I would go off of like.
Did you find yourself creating it?
Yeah. Like
kind of creating it, creating it around all the things that your dad wasn't, and then you kind of made that you were like the Frankenstein or
Yeah.
Making
Yeah, like
yeah.
yeah, creating the Frankenstein of like what I thought it should be. And then it got distorted, I think, on so many different levels, because every time I would try to create it, it wasn't working out, obviously. And then I would sit back and be like, well, what's up with me? What is that? Honestly, it was through like there was a point in my life where I was like, F this. This is not how I
You
should be
can say the
treated.
word on my
Oh,
podcast.
I'm allowed to? Oh, okay.
Yes, you
I
are.
wasn't aware.
Yes,
Yeah,
you are.
fuck this.
If
I am not
anything
going.
anybody knows about me, I have a pirate's mouth. Go
Okay,
ahead.
that's wonderful. Yeah, like F it, fuck it. I know how I should be treated. I know that the way that they were treating me was not who I was. It wasn't representative of who I was. I had been people pleasing for so long, bending backwards to the point of almost breaking my back, that I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. Like, I'll never forget the moment that I was like, a light bulb came off, that I was like, no, Rashida, you're worth way more. You're not going to play this game anymore.
Right.
And I know this might sound crazy to some people, but like, I started to play the same game that honestly a lot of men, I think, till this day still play, right? Like, they're still confused about themselves. And so they have this way of like treating women a certain way. And I was like, well, okay, I'm just going to play the same game, because women we love, right? We catch on to emotions. So if somebody can get to us emotionally, we will flip the script and be like, yeah, like we get into that mind thing of like, I want to get married, I want to have kids, I want to. And then that man will turn around and flip the script or whatever. And then we start to think, oh, there's something wrong with me. They haven't called me. They haven't this. And I was like, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to love me. And what does that feel like? Well, that feels like me being with whoever I choose to be with no attachment. And we'll see where that goes. And
Right.
that led me to finding my partner, who I've been with for like 20 years.
Wow.
And that was like,
yeah.
I would say that was divine intervention, because it wasn't like I was expecting anything, but I had this carefree mentality that I was like, I'm just going to be free. I'm not going to try to place all of these like stipulations on like, I need to find somebody to get married, to do this, to do this. I was like, I just want to find somebody.
Yeah. So actually, it wasn't playing the same game. It wasn't like two wrongs make right. What
Right,
you
yeah.
did was you decided to just be and
Yeah.
enjoy the being of dating and getting to
Yeah.
know somebody,
Yeah.
and kind of pulling back the expectation of love.
Yeah.
Right.
I like how you said that. Yeah.
Ooh. Ooh.
I like how you
Yeah.
said that. Yeah, I pulled
Yeah.
back. Thank you for saying that. Yeah, I pulled back on the expectation. And the minute that I did that, honestly, it was like he showed up. And I was like, okay,
Yeah.
this is kind of nice. But even then, we never had any expectations on our relationship. We just became really good friends. Normally, I was the type to jump into a relationship super fast, and be like totally head over heels for the person and like clinging. And for the first time, I was like, I just want to see where this goes. No pressure. Like, let's just hang out. And yeah, we did that for a year, which I had never done with anybody. Like, just getting to know somebody for an entire year, no attachment. And from there, it's ballooned in. And I always say it's like it's meant to be. And when we talk about like patterns, clearly there was obviously some type of like karmic thing with that, because my grandfather on my mom's side was an Aries, my dad was an Aries, and then my current partner is an Aries.
Oh my God. My ex-husband was an Aries. Oh my God. Okay. Okay. So, but what we've gotten through, I did all my inner work for that. Yeah. And now, because I did the inner work, instead of waiting for him to have that awakening moment to come back and say, oh, Sandra, I apologize for everything, that kind of thing. It had to be that, because I was I was awakened to the fact that I had a higher being. It's not that he's not an awakened person. He's awakened to his mind, and that he's awakened to the fact that he's told he has a body, and he's told he has a mind, and he's living life. When we got married, oh my God, we were 20 years old. What did we know about that? We know everything that was downloaded to us. My mother tried everything to have me continue going to college and getting, getting my, doing getting a job, or having a career. At that time that I was growing up or embarking out, careers for women were either you could be a nurse or an office worker or a secretary, or a flight attendant. And they were, back then it wasn't called flight attendants, they were called stewardesses. And it was all, there were stipulations around it. So for me, the good standby, the story that was for me is marry your high school sweetheart. The man is going to be the head of the household, and this comes from the good old Baptist religion that I grew up in, and live happily ever after, and have 3.2 kids, right? Okay. Yeah. And not any of the other stuff, and behind those scenes, I was dealing with my feelings for girls or women. Back then, I was born in 57, so I grew up in the 60s and was an adult in the 70s. And having feelings for girls growing up in a Baptist background was, you need to get hands laid on you, or you need to sit and have lay on a couch, or go to a what was that? Have water torture, or those facilities. Yeah, right. And I'm not kidding to anybody who's saying, my God, that can't be so. That time was they were very, very adamant about you living the life that they told you were supposed to live.
Yeah.
Right. So I was embarked in all of that, but I was following a set of rules, even though my mother was trying to shift them for me. Right. I'm sorry to hear that. I love you. Thank you for being so brave. But it was over 40 years ago, and there have been so many people that have opened that avenue for me to even speak it. It wasn't speakable back then. So for me, what I learned was, I grew up with Barbie dolls, Chatty Cathy, Baby Wets a Lot. So what was do you see what the programming was? Yeah. I was being programmed, right? And right. Even though my mother was trying to subtly change that, I was already, that particular part of it, I was already indoctrinated to. Yeah. So at 20, I got married. My ex-husband didn't abuse me. He didn't physically abuse me or anything. He grew up in an area of time with grown men who were older than him, in their 40s, that were telling him how he could live a life of, you can eat your cake and have it too. Yeah. Do you see? Yeah. And it wasn't right or wrong. It was just us being young and not having embodied ourselves. Yeah. Not like I've embodied and got to know myself. But I tell you, I think that was the second dark night of the soul that I went through, is going in and finding that shadow of me, bringing that forward and saying, okay, time to let go, time to two things. And letting go, I had to give myself grace, and I had to forgive without anyone asking forgiveness. Yeah. I had to go in and do that. Yeah. Now there's some remnants of that I didn't know splintered from that and attached itself to something else. I didn't know back then, but the divine knew, right? So the story, because I did that, it opened the I guess the gateway for him and I to eventually have a conversation about that, right? And opened up that we are kind of like we were supposed to be when we were junior high schools, and we were just best friends because we were best friends, right? So we got back to that point. Okay, then the next shadow walk that I had to do was literally, it blew me out the 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 playing field, because like you said, we're taught to love as a woman. Whether we love a man or a woman, it doesn't matter. We're taught to, fall in love, fall head over heels in love, fall in love with falling in love. That's what we're taught,
Yeah.
right? And that happened. And it took me I was all out of my comfort zone, because my comfort zone was, if I ever met anybody, it was going to be at my local grocery store. Everything was going to be
planned out like a fairy tale.
Yeah. Well, not even planned out like a fairy tale. It was going to be, I was going to be in a box.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
My ego would say, okay, you want to meet a woman. Well, it's still going to be in a box. I wasn't going to dive into the unknown, right? And make it known. But it just so happened that the circumstance was meeting somebody that was not in my state, or even in my country. And what do you call it? Falling, love at first sight.
Yeah.
Right? And this girl is all in or all out. The divine knows me. But all of this happened, and I was devastated. I don't think she understood that I was devastated. But it was finally understood. And I'm also learning that our higher beings came here for purpose. So the plan for my higher being said that, okay, I want to do this, this, and this, and I want to feel this, this, and this. And her higher being said, okay, I'll be there right on time so that you can experience it. But remember, higher being, that you and we're consciousness and we're wholeness. So whatever your form body goes through, you've got to forgive me, right? But I'm telling you, that form part of me took a deep dive that was seriously totally wanted to set me back. But it was because the divine said, we got to go in there and we got to find those pieces that fragmented off.
Yeah, I like that you're saying that.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like, but I didn't know that. But it was like, I don't know. I just felt head over heels. I felt like love at first sight. And the thing is, do I regret it? No. Because my soul, that's what my soul wanted to feel, was that unconditional love, even after all that. But I had to go from the broken part to the healed part. I had to feel everything, right? And now, and now I get it, I get it, because my heart chakra was not open like I thought it was, because I thought I was spiritual and I thought I had it going on, and I thought shit was never ever going to happen to get me again, right? So have you ever had that moment, whether it's been with whether that unconditional love has, or the trigger has not, it doesn't have to be a love of your life or a sexual encounter. It could be with kids or whatever. Have you ever had that moment?
Yeah, I have. I can say that now, like who I am today and how I've learned and grown so much, that I always have moments of looking back to the past, because there was lessons that were happening then that I wasn't even aware of, and then coming up to present day, certain relationships, certain things recently for me has just been coming to the surface. So I feel like right now I'm going through another transformation for myself, where things are coming, all the things that I've suppressed for so long, memories that I'm it needs to just go in the back somewhere, is nope, we need it to come out. So for me right now, it's stepping back into my body and what that feels like. And so I can say that So honestly, all now I can say this, all of the relationships, whether it's my friends, like partners, kids, like I could now say, oh, okay, this is why this person is in my life. This is why I need to. Is with my kids, every single one of them is a reflection of me. I know 100% I've birthed a piece of me in every single one of them. And I'm taking the time, even during pregnancy and afterwards, and watching them grow is like, oh, okay, that was in that time I was going through those things and I birthed that. And now that I can see them continue to grow, I can see the moments in which I birthed them and the experiences I was going through and how it's translated to who they are at this point. And then I'm like, okay, well, then what are the things that I need to heal still within myself to help to heal them? I know it's not my job to heal them, but I know if I can heal it within me, it's going to be a reflection, and energy is energy. It's going to transmute over to them in some way. So I really do utilize that a lot in like every relationship that I encounter now and even the ones in the past, because those who are like in your energy field, even though you've had a relationship with them and then like it didn't work out and you split in two ways, I've had a lot of moments where so many of those people have come back into my life. Like, right. Just like what you said, ooh, I've been hurt or whatever, or we have a falling out. They come back. Yeah. And then I'm like, okay, well, what have I not learned, or what is coming to the surface as to why this person has shown back up in my life? What do I need to heal within myself to either, I don't want to say rectify the relationship, but like to come to terms with what happened in the relationship.
Or even the fact that, okay, I'm healed. I've healed myself. Now I have to be open for that person might be coming back into your life for clarity, or for, or to open their throat chakra, because you never know why a person exits your life. It's not because, sometimes it's not because they're doing it on purpose. Sometimes it's because they're going through things. And sometimes they don't have a open heart chakra or a open throat chakra, or they've gone through things in their past, and so it's kind of like, that's what I'm learning. It's like, okay, I can't burn bridges.
Yeah.
And going, I know that the divine says, Sandy, are you ready? And I'm going, am I ready for what? Well, there's a reason why your heart chakra has been open and you're learning to keep it open. Because and I say, okay, what are you about to unleash on me? And the divine will say, you're just about to live life, right? And there'll be people coming back for more life. And are you ready? And it's like, for me, yes, I'm ready, right? And so that's what I could say. Yes, I'm ready. It's the expectation. I can't do the expectation because I don't know what the divine has allowed to open up on another person's end. For my ex-husband, came in saying, I've said sorry I told everybody that I'm sorry for the things that I've done, or, even to my kids and stuff. He's had conversations with them about, oh, I wish I hadn't did this to your mom, and your mom was so good, and she's done such a great job with you, and that whole kind of thing. And then they would come back and say to me, and for a while I was in this victim mode, right? Okay, because we've all been there in this victim mode of when they would come and say it to me, I would say under my breath, well, he hasn't said it to me. That kind of thing, right?
Yeah, I've heard that one, yeah.
Right. And after a while, I just stopped saying that. I just would, when they'd say it, I just go, okay, and then that's when, like I said, that was my second dark night of the soul, is like, Why am I feeling this way? I'm
Mm.
feeling this way. I'm feeling really torn. Why am I feeling torn? I don't feel whole. Why am I not feeling whole? It can't be because of another person. And the divine says, can it? You sure it can't? Because you're the wholeness that you're feeling isn't about the form. It's about the formless. And I said, well, okay, what do I have to go in there and seek? It's, well, what have you been hearing constantly? Well, your ex-husband is seeking to find a way to come to you and say, forgive me. But he can't because his upbringing hasn't allowed, he hasn't seen anything to give him a version of what forgiveness or asking forgiveness means. I said, oh, so I had to do that shadow walk. I had to figure that out. So I had to do all the forgiveness for myself. And then, that part of the Christianity that I was not running from, that I had moved from, that didn't resonate with me. Then the divine said, look at this. This is what Jesus said. Even though you don't believe in the blood of Jesus and um, being, being a sinner, what Jesus said when he was on the cross was, he said, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. It wasn't forgiving them so that they can feel okay. It was forgiving him so that he could enter into what we consider the kingdom of heaven whole, without saying, they did this to me. Why would they do this to me? Feeling like a victim. And that's when I went, oh, that's what, because it just came to me. I woke up going, oh, that's what you mean. You know, oh, I get it. And literally, like, I think 2 weeks afterwards, my ex-husband, we had came together about one of our grandkids, and we started talking about it. And that's when he said, really, I really want you. I didn't know what I was doing. I was too young. I was listening to the wrong people. And that's when I told him, hey, we were both young. We didn't know what we were doing. And then I told him, I said, you were smart enough to get out. And he just looked at me. I said, you may not have done it the right way, what I would consider the right way, but you were smart enough to leave and know that this wasn't for your highest and greatest good.
Yeah.
Right?
I love how you said that too. I think that's really important when people can, I guess the word is like humble themselves to say like, yeah, I was going just through this experience. I didn't know what I was doing.
Right.
It also, like, I could just say for myself, it helped me because in the moments when I thought I wasn't doing the right thing, or I thought that, I wasn't in the right direction, or how the relationship went, or how it ended, or how I acted in relationships, I would question that a lot. Like, did I say the right thing? Did I do the right thing? Like, no, I should just stick with it. Like, you were right in saying those things. You were right for saying, like, I have to set strong boundaries. And then having to work through that without having that person there to say, like, yeah, I did play a part in that. It helped later on because, like, same situation like what you had there, I've had people come back to me and apologize and say, like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I totally get it. I was, I don't say in the wrong, but like, yeah, I was young. I wasn't, and that, for me personally, it helped me just for myself. Like, it wasn't like, oh, okay, I'm glad that they acknowledged that, like, they weren't treating me right. That wasn't even what it was about. It was more of like, Rashida, you were right in your feelings.
Right.
What you're feeling, how you felt in that moment was valid. And I'm just happy that you stuck with that versus shoving those feelings aside because you wanted to continue this, or you thought you had to, or whatever that might be.
Mm-hmm.
Those things really helped because, gosh, we question all the time, like on a regular basis. So
Yeah.
to hear that from those who you care for, whether that's family or friends, to say like, oh, you're totally right. Like, that is exactly what we're saying, is that, like, in society, we're so conditioned to be a certain way that we internalize it so much that we continue to live that as if it is like everything. And I never grew up like, well, I grew up like that, but I never believed it. And I had to continue to say like, oh, Rashida, this, I don't want to stay in these boxes. Like, that's not, I'm not a box person. I like to create the box. I'll create it, but I'm not going to be in it. And it really took a really long time for me to stay honestly, like, steadfast in my choices and decisions as a mom, especially. And not only like how I was just raising my kids, but just how I was raising myself, how I was raising my family looked far different than what was normal or what people considered normal in my family. And I was like, no, I'm gonna stick with this because it feels good. So to have like years later, as I got older, to have my own family come to me and say like, Rashida, you're doing the right thing. Like for them, it was like, you're doing the right thing. Like, don't think that you're not, don't think. And it was like having them to see me, they were able to see things within themselves that they were like, I wish I could have. And the fact that you get to do this, it's like, it really helps. Like, especially like, I'm all about family. I'm all about connections. I'm all about those things. And even, it doesn't matter what it looks like, but when you can have people there who might not understand the path that you're taking, but will still be there on the sidelines in some way to cheer you on, feels good. And we're in this human experience, so like on the human level, it feels good to have those moments in your life. It's not the be all and end all, but it does help to give you that extra little boost.
It does. It really does, because I think this last the fact that the divine wanted me to remove those fragments, which were the fragment of feeling naive was still there, because when I can't mention everything that has happened in that relationship with my husband, because he was a part of that. And he cannot speak on his behalf, on his perception of that. So I can't, I can only speak of my perception, is because when he left, there were no words, there were no conversations. It was just looking one day from my perception in the closet, and there was one pair of pants hanging there. And I felt so naive. I felt fearful, because all of a sudden the reality of being a single mother raising kids with a ex-husband that's out of the home. We're not yet divorced. He's telling me that when there finally was conversation, it's not you, it's me. I have things that I have to work out. And then finding out that he's living a double life, that that there's another woman in there, and that kind of thing. To me, that was naive, and that sliver of energy attached to something else in me that was holding my heart chakra, that was opening and closing the heart chakra, right? I didn't know it. I didn't feel it, because like I said, I'm awakening and I'm having blah, 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 and shit's going good and I'm going to manifest and blah, blah, blah. And this time around, these higher beings that are my soul and somebody else's soul, it's time, right? And literally just doing the thing, taking that leap of faith. To me, that's what it was, that there is love at first sight. It doesn't have to be in front of you. It doesn't have to be in the same city or on the same block. I was venturing out, and that literally I was embracing the fact that you don't have to have a sexual relationship to get to know somebody. that, you know, I was embracing all of these things, and I was riding my white horse and my steed, and it was looking good, feeling good, it was happening, it was everything. And then it abruptly, you know, that movie where a tree branch hits you in a comedy,
Yeah.
and you fall off the horse. Well, it wasn't a tree branch, it was another tree that knocked me off. And literally, I went beyond the root chakra. I was like in primordial. That's where I felt. I felt like I was oozing in naivety,
Mm.
right? It was like, how did I get back here again?
Mm.
You know, didn't I do this like over 40 years ago, right? And but it was another growth aspect.
Yeah.
And I was learning how to use my throat chakra, right? So, you know, so it's kind of like, and at the same time, the divine was saying, I've got a book for you to read. You're going to heal from this book, but there are going to be other people who are having problems with their heart chakra. They're having problems with their throat chakra. And your lesson is going to be their opening or them opening. You know, this is a twofold, right? And my throat chakra, I will tell you that this person has blocked me, and because of whatever I had said through my throat chakra, she blocked me, and she's unfollowed me and blocked me because I actually, I believe I said that when certain people don't bother to have a conversation with you, right? They don't bother to have a conversation. They leave you to let your mind fill in the blanks, and that's not good. It doesn't mean that you ever have to come back to a person to apologize or say, forgive me that I came through your life and I hurt you. That's only the form, because I get the formless. This all had to happen so my heart chakra, my throat chakra could come in alignment, and so that my energy center could start working for the highest and greatest good of myself and the highest and greatest good of service to others. I get that. So my thing is, I leave it open. You know, my page is open. She's welcome back at any time.
Yeah.
Because there's a part of her that has to have a conversation about her healing. Because
Yeah.
whatever she was going through had nothing to do with me. I just was in the wrong place at the right time,
Yeah. I've
right?
always
Nobody.
heard I've heard somebody say to me, same kind of thing, like, with relationships, like, right relationship, wrong timing, right? Whether
Right.
that is like you're just meant to cross paths for just a moment to just learn a little bit, there's life lessons in it, and then you're meant to walk away. I learned so much from, like, one of my first serious relationships. I learned so much out of that,
Right.
like so much deep wisdom
Mm-hmm.
that I then was able to sit back and be like, oh, this person just showed up to teach me some stuff
Yeah.
that I didn't even realize that I needed. I was young. I was like 19. He was like 25.
Mm-hmm.
I never dated somebody like older. I think he was like a little bit older than that, but like taught me so much.
Right.
Um, that I still take those things with me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, a big one when we talk about relationships and like the attachment of stuff is that, like, don't let one person hold up your entire city.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, that
I
one
do.
stood with me for a
Yeah.
long time because I had I was searching for love so bad that, like, I was placing all of that into that one person. I think we all have a tendency to do that. And
Yeah.
then you place so much pressure on them to be this thing that you have this expectation of. And then you're like, whoa, like, that's a lot to place on somebody when that
Somebody.
was,
Yeah.
right, never their
Mm-hmm.
intention. It was just to, to love you or to care for you in whatever way. That stood out to me so much. I have taken that throughout my entire life, that
Yeah.
particular thing, because Yeah, we all have a tendency to do that, to
And
place
I'm going to
that.
tell you right now, this moment, you saying that makes it just, that's another, oh, I'm going to tell you, the divine always has me doing shadow work on myself in lives. But that's the thing is, it's about putting, not pressure, putting things on people to be your end all be
Yeah.
all to a situation that you have to go inward to love yourself
Yeah.
for, or to have for yourself, right? Because this particular person actually, she actually said, from a reading that she did for me on doing my chart reading, she says, oh, I'm not your, I'm not your, what do you call it, soulmate,
Soulmate.
and I'm not your twin flame. I believe I'm here for something, but I don't, she couldn't tell what it was. But now when I go back to that, she was there for that for that next awakening moment in me, that okay, the naive little girl had to come forward, right? Not little girl, but I say young me, right? Had to come forward, because that fragmented energy of her got attached to something else that was kind of sort of the same, but was hiding,
Yeah.
right? And it wasn't having me be realistic about the list of my of what I wanted for us. Not a I never even asked for a soulmate. I know who my twin flame is. I've never asked for a twin flame, because my twin flame is my baby brother, who is 3 years younger than me, and also a Gemini. Also a Gemini, 3 years apart, and we can finish each other's sentences. We're both empaths. He doesn't realize that he's an empath. I know he's my twin soul, because he will, even though I know how to ask embodying questions of myself, he knows how to ask them of me. He's that mirror. So I've always known that, right? And I've never asked about a soulmate, because I don't believe that we only have one soulmate. I believe that we have infinite possibilities. So if you tell me that you get one soulmate and you miss it for your whole entire life, you're just destined to be without a soulmate, and you get what you get. That wasn't me. But I still wasn't being accurate, or embodying what I wanted as a mate. You know what I mean? You know, and it wasn't because I was going, I don't want to see me in the mirror. I want to see someone else with I still don't even know how to explain it. I'm going, okay, I can sit there and go, I know I want somebody kind. I know I want somebody, and have all the characteristics, but what do I want to embody in them?
Yeah.
That, right? The next question I wanted to ask you, in your self-inquiry. Okay, no, I need to go back, because you were saying how you saw certain characteristics of your children. Yeah. What I wanted to confirm with you, that I saw the same thing in my children. My oldest son was outgoing. Outgoing, a smile on his